Howdy. We just finished qualifying one of our teams here for Europe. Fnatic has now been qualified for the HGC finals at BlizzCon, which will be happening in a couple of months. My name's Trixler. Counter's over there.
Was that your opening line, Howdy?
I was trying to figure out how I varied up my intro, because you have to vary them up a lot, and I was like, I'm just going to go with a single word.
All right. Like, it just caught me off guard a little bit.
You try it. Say it. Look at the camera and say howdy. It feels good. Try it, Caldor. Do it. You got the single shot and everything. Here you go. Just go ahead and mimic it, and I'll give you the voice for you. Ready?
Wait, no, give me a second.
Okay. Howdy.
Howdy.
There you go. You got it. See? Feels good, right? Saying hello to people, getting the games going.
Fantastic. No, it's great.
It's a good day here at the HGC. We're getting ready for our second series of this Saturday. Let's go ahead and look at the standings, get an idea of where our teams are currently at. On the #1 spot, Fnatic killing it, man, breaking into the double digits with a 10-1.
Yeah, and they actually also confirmed for the #1 spot. I actually slipped a bit earlier and said that they are not qualified for #1 just yet. They could still drop into the second slot. That's not true. They are confirmed for #1, and the important part, most important part, is they are qualified for the HGC finals. And Dignitas would, of course, love to mirror that and try and get a little bit farther ahead in the standings here against the Zealots today.
How close are they to qualifying? They have 2 series they need to win?
Pretty close, yes.
Pretty close.
I mean, it depends a little bit on the rest of the results as well. If the direct competitors are losing out, then it could, of course, be a little bit sooner. But it all comes down to who could potentially tie with them, because they have lost a few matches in the first part of Phase 2. So if it comes to the direct comparison, there could still be a one-on-one situation.
Regardless, getting victories are important here for Dignitas, and today's schedule will show you who they're facing off against. It's going to be the Zealots here, the second series of the day here at Europe. Now, of course, later on, North America will come at you as Tempo Storm will take on Lag Force, and then Roll20 Esports and Even a Death finish the day.
Yep, a little bit of an A coming into play later on to Roll20, of course, being pretty happy about the blunder that we saw from GFE just yesterday as they lost without even taking a map. That's pretty good for Roll20, and ideally, of course, they want to push straight into that #1 pole position here in the standings for North America. But first of all, we have a little bit more Europe coming your way, and with the Zealots doing pretty well lately, it could be a great game here. Dignitas, on the other hand, they are looking so strong.
Well, Zealots have grown on a team, but Dignitas looking strong right now. We'll see if they can shut them out, but our players, they have their own insights to share with you at home.
Dignitas a lot in the beginning of this phase, and the first week they played really well, and the second weekend as well. And especially in their series against Fnatic, you could see that they were up to par with Fnatic, and you could even argue that they should have won the series. But we respect them a lot, and from the scrim results, they seem really strong. Might be possible to beat them since all the EU teams are if they have a good day and the other team have a bad day, they can cause the worst team on paper can easily cause upsets. I think there is a slight chance of us winning, but we aim to just get a map and learn a lot from them since they're playing very well at the moment.
Right now, everything feels good. Scrims are going good, we're having fun. Everybody has their goals set for BlizzCon, and we're all hyped. We're playing a lot of mages again, Mena is happy, everybody's happy, and we're performing well, so it's great. What comes to mind when I think Team Zealots is a little wonky. Sometimes they perform, sometimes they don't. Recently they beat Liquid, so clearly there's some potential there, and they're definitely a force to be reckoned with. But I think if we just stay solid, it should be no problem. Unless Poil brings out some magical plays like he sometimes does. What I expect from our match against Zealots is probably just a 3-0, hopefully. That's what I would expect at least. We've been performing good in scrims, performing good in the official games, and Zealots have been looking a little wonky. Kind of always do, but you never really know what they have up their sleeves. So, but I expect a 3-0, I guess.
Oh, the return of mages for Mene. It just feels right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels
good.
right. It feels good. It was kind of wonky seeing him playing Ariel for a little bit. He was good at Ariel, but Ariel's not Gul'dan.
Yeah, and not Kalthas or Liming either. So the hero is where he really shines, and he's pretty happy about that for sure. But yeah, it should be a pretty interesting series here today. Dignitas, they had a few games where they showed some weakness, but just in the recent matches, they were incredibly strong and very dominant in their performance.
Well, it's time to look at our Battlegrounds as this best-of-5 series will begin. Game #1 will be on Cursed Hollow, chosen by Dignitas. That means Zealots will have first pick.
The one thing with the Zealots is also that Shad is a bit of a player that can just throw a curveball every now and then. Sometimes he plays Vikings and we see him all of a sudden on Abathur. That can always happen here. But overall, the Zealots, they have started to stabilize a bit, but as Celia also talked about in the interview, they are just a little bit, yeah, you don't know which Zealots you get. They are starting to stabilize a bit more and they are a bit more consistent, but overall they still have days where they are really off. And even though they establish themselves currently in the middle of the pack here, going up against Dignitas is of course going to be a huge deal since Dignitas has found back to their old strength.
Yeah, everyone talks about Poik and how strong of a player he is, but I really feel like over the last few weeks we've been seeing everyone else step it up really heavily for the Zealots. I mean, Shad was one that since day number 1, I'm like, I like Shad. He switches things up. He's the best player in the world. And then Mobsio, been killing it on the tanks as of late. Really cool to see him finally putting in that work. He's been a bit more reserved. He was very, I guess, telegraphed when it came to fighting tanks. You could tell where he wanted to go. It was very easy to punish, but he's doing a very good job of masking his movements, and his team following up has just been spectacular.
I have to say that for me personally on the team, Mobsio is one of the 2 players that has really improved a lot. Zarmany also is one that has stepped it up. But Mobsio for me was always the wild card. When the team formed, it really reminded me of past performances where Mobsio oftentimes was just way too aggressive, way too telegraphed in what he wanted to do, and he wanted to make this one play that leads to victory. And right now he's more of a team player. He has really stepped it back a bit with that aggression, and that helps everyone on their side. So that was definitely improvement. And if they continue that path, I mean, I don't think they're there yet, but if they continue that path, they can become incredibly strong, and they're always good for a win. So let's see how this first one is shaping up here. Zealots immediately saying, you know what, banning Tassadar, banning Genji, Abathur, let's just forget about all of this. Let's get ETC out of the way immediately. And it's actually an interesting choice. If you think about how they have first pick and are oftentimes known to play ETC, one of the first teams next to Fnatic that played ETC, but instead they're saying, we want the Haka, we want the global, and if we take him first, then Dignitas will react with the ETC pick, so let's ban him right away.
Yeah, it seems like, and this may just be premature of me to say, but it feels like Mobsio is a little bit more flexible on that tank role. Zarmany loves his Dahaka if he can have it. If not, he usually goes into Sonya. So them setting themselves up to make sure they have the Dahaka is always a good choice here, as it feels like even though we haven't had Zarmany stress as heavily here in the HGC, he does have a bit of a limited hero pool that he excels at.
Yeah. And now with what we also have currently on the side of Dignitas is they throw us back a bit to the mid-season brawl here. Very early picks on Genji and on Uther. They're still very popular, but you don't see him as the first picks as often as, let's say, 2 months back, just simply because both heroes have received slight nerfs. But they are still fantastic in combo, and we've seen them today with a good Divine Shield on Genji, just enabling him to just slice away, get the kills in. But now Zealots, they have a chance for Rega, for example, can pick him, and also on the front line, it's going to be interesting to see what their tank choice will be here.
I am curious to see if we will see the Tassadar, possibly Tracer, Tassadar
Yeah.
Vala from them here, with that being up and available in this composition. That would require them to go the route where they have 2 tanks and 2 supports and 1 hyper carry, but it is definitely a composition that Zealots have ran in the past and ran well.
Yeah, you can start with the Tassadar here, and then you can pick any kind of hero that can be extended through Tassadar, and they go for it. Tassadar, Tegan, and Rega. So the best support or second best support, depending on where you come from, what you try and use as a combo with Rega now, and Tassadar is of course a great enabler. As you said, they can play it with Tracer. That's something that Dignitas has now to figure out. What do we ban? Do we ban Vala? Do we ban Lunara? Are we worried about a potential Cassia play here, depending on what they plan to use? And if not, is it going to be that Tracer ban? So there's a few options for Dignitas, trying to limit what the Zealots can bring now into their double support composition.
Yeah, see what they want to ban out here. I think they can leave the Tracer up if they want to move into a Vala or Lunara ban, because Genji can be okay and you can go down the Varian route, but instead they ban Tracer.
In the past, when they let Tracer through, not really relevant to this situation, but if they do that, they have also started to pick Varian a little bit more often, just to simply cut down with that tool. But they want to make sure that there's nothing, there's no odds here. Like with Poik sometimes completely just popping off, you are a bit better off just like negating that immediately. So Tracer's already banned out. Zealots now can ban the front line even if they want to, but it would also limit their own options for the main tank.
Yeah, wondering which they want to ban out here. They decided to move into the Falstad ban, keeping away that global play so they can keep Dahaka on the field and really owning things up. There are still some options available. There is a Brightwing that is on the field that we could see from Team Dignitas. They want to go that route, but they already have their Uther.
It also makes Stitches a little bit less attractive to Team Dignitas, since with Stitches, one of the comps that we sometimes see is still Gorge into Gust, and with an Uther already set on Dignitas' side, you have the follow-up stun that you can use, but with Falstad taken out, boss control is a bit more difficult for Dignitas. The global that you mentioned is becoming a huge part, since Zealots have Dahaka and would love him to be the only real global on the map. And then, of course, the combo potential with Stitches is something else that figures into that decision.
Dignitas now thinking about their choices. In the past, they've ran Chromie on this battleground, one that we've seen them pick up pretty often. I wouldn't mind seeing a Li Ming as well if they want a little bit more mobility because of the Dahaka coming in for the flanks. And it gives you the ability to kind of blow up a Tassadar or Rhaegar if they are out of position and do get locked down. Helps out with all the lockdown we typically see from Dignitas.
What I would also, I could see a Li Ming here as well, having the double, okay, they go Gul'dan instead. Li Ming would have given them double resets on Genji and Li Ming, but they opt for Gul'dan as their tank on, as their mage on the side of Mene, with the tank now being Nuburak, so heavy engage on his part here. And now for the Zealots, a moment of truth. What's going to be that front line? They played with Johanna in the past. We've seen actually mostly play a variety of heroes here. But Johanna would be one hero that we've seen him on several times, has the wave clear added and a lot of self-sustain. So your two supports can focus more so on the hyper carry. You don't really have to spam those shields out against towards your front line.
Yeah, we've seen him on the Garrosh as well. Garrosh does worry me a bit with Gul'dan and Genji poke. Could be a bit annoying.
The Divine Shield as well, if that comes into play, and then it can be a quick turnaround. So you have to be a bit careful with him here. Not quite sure if it would fit the situation.
Does Stitches work for them here?
I mean, I want to say you want someone that can peel for your hyper carry. The two supports are great, but you still want to have someone at the front. Vala is going to be great, and they go into Muradin. Okay, so they have a stun available, and they have an escape. That works for them for the setup. Personally, I would have really liked the Johanna too. We've seen her a lot actually on the side of Dignitas and other teams now. And with Condemn alone, you can just peel opponents a bit off Vala. So that's always, has a nice touch to it, and you have a bit more self-sustain. But then Muradin has that too. If he goes into the full sustain build with your healing static on level 13, thanks to the double Thunderclap on level 4, you can actually make a lot of, you can take a lot of damage without your supports having to do anything for you.
Yeah, the best part about that is what you just mentioned there. Both Dahaka and Muradin here can be on their own. With the Essence Dahaka, he can heal himself up. Muradin's able to dance in and out of fights, should be able to sustain himself, so you can just focus on your Vala here. Now, Dignitas, looking at their final pickup here. Do they move into a second warrior? Do they look for a little bit more engage, a little bit more control?
I mean, they played Arthas a lot for Zelia here, but it's Illidan instead that we're seeing now with a single Uther. So a very aggressive composition actually, with Genji, Anuburak and Illidan being able to really jump in deep. Muradin works actually quite well against Illidan here. Johanna would have the blind, but he has the slow on the auto attacks. So with the stuns and the setup that we have, there's a couple of really good tools that they have, because Uther's going to be in a spot where he has to really think, hey, who do I give my Divine Shield to? I kind of want to give it to Genji so he can really go into the back line with the Dragon Blade. But then if Illidan moves in a bit too soon, for example, and eats a stun, then he's going to be focused right away. So you might have the only one shot at using a Divine Shield. He might have to go on Illidan, and then Genji is a little bit weaker when he starts to engage with the Dragon Blade. But there's a lot of momentum that Dignitas can build up, and one of the biggest jobs on the side of Team Zealot is going to be to try and stop that momentum and make sure that they just don't run over you in these fights.
This was a composition that they ran pretty often at the mid-season brawl, where they had the hunt, go in, focus the target, kill them as quickly as possible, and they used it a lot against double support, so it's kind of cool to see it back. Gul'dan's a little bit of a new addition. We had Li Ming in the mix, I think, more often back then, but still, a composition that Illidan has been running pretty well here for Zelia when Dignitas did run at the mid-season brawl. At the same time, Zealots putting all their eggs in the basket of Poik, which is something that they have done pretty often, and something that they are used to doing. So I think we have comfort picks for both of our teams.
Yeah, we definitely do. And I mean, this is just the first map of a best of 5 series here. Dignitas, as we said before, they expect this to go 3-0 their way. At least Zelia said they feel good right now. They feel confident. They have good scrim results, and they think that Zealots are a little bit too inconsistent overall. But the Zealots have a shot to immediately gain up some momentum by taking the first map. It's going to be difficult for them. They are the underdog in the series still. Well, we're going to find out right now if they can make it happen.
Let's find out. It's time to start here. Dignitas versus the Zealots here. Who will come out as the victor on Cursed Hollow? It's time to find out.
Jumping into game number 1 of the best of 5 series, we have Team Dignitas to the left with Bakery on Uther, JPL on Nuburak. We're seeing Mena once again on his mage, this time on Gul'dan, Snitch, rocking Genji here, one of the best Genji players that we have in the European scene at this point, and Zelia on Illidan.
On the right side, in the red, the Zealots here. Mopsio playing Muradin, Zarmani on Dahaka, Shad on Tassadar, Grandpa playing Rhaegar, and Poik going to be playing the Vala. And it's actually interesting that you say that about the Snitch player playing Genji. He's really evolved in the last few weeks on Genji. The first couple weeks that he was running it, sure, he was very impactful, but lately he has been popping off, as well as even Schwimpy and Quacknix.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy, like, overall in the hero. It's absolutely insane how much he has improved as a player. And at this point, I mean, let's see how it's going to work out for him here. He could be the one to take Vala down in these fights, and that would, of course, be ideal for them. Noteworthy that we have Perfect Storm taken for Muradin. So it's going to be the stacks, which is an interesting talent to take. I mean, it's pretty cool if you can get enough stacks so that you have a bit more burst potential.
Also reducing the cost there of the mana, which is one of the major reasons why you pick it up. Muradin actually stresses out pretty hard when it comes to mana. When you go for the self-sustain bill, around 13, you drop down a couple of Ws, you jump in a few times, and wait, suddenly you're around a quarter health. So having that mana, saving him, also pretty good.
Yeah, so at this point, we are having just a rotation at the bot lane, 3 versus 2 setup, and that's what we normally see. Vala just being accompanied by 1 healer and then trying to get that pressure in. Poik is, of course, going to be the main damage dealer here for the team. Later on, Tassadar with the double storm can just soften up targets a bit for her. And at the top lane, it's Mene going straight up against Dehaka. So that's another fight that we have to watch out for later. And personally, I'm always kind of happy when I see Shad on Tassadar, because if it's going to be a force wall play, I'm pretty sure that we're going to see some fantastic ones in here.
He's the one that drops the force walls. Interesting to see that Gul'dan in the solo lane. He's actually doing really well up there, too.
Yeah, the thing is about Tassadar, just to come back on him for a second, I would still expect him to go into Archon here. The extra damage would be really nice for them.
Yeah, if they had an Ariel, force wall all day. The Tame and Strike combo falls up, but yeah, with the Rhaegar being there, I think I agree with you. Archon would be good.
Some extra damage outside of Vala would really help them in those fights. But let's see how that's going to work out for them. For now, it's just structural damage that we are seeing on the map. Mid lane is being heavily attacked, but we have Mopsio and Shad fighting back right away, still holding on to the towers. Dignitas with an earlier level 4. And in the meantime, we're seeing the Zealots, thanks to the pressure at the bot lane, also hitting their next talents. In addition to that, Rhaegar has moved over to grab the Siege Shines. 2 minutes in, the first camp spawn on the map, of course, and it's all about setting a good position up for the next shrine.
Illidan will do the same on his side of the battery on the top left, and this seems to favor the Zealots, actually, as they get their Giants quicker. With Rhaegar starting at first, it will be pushing on the bottom side. The Tribute spawning in the top right corner will allow Zealots to come up and contest while those do push in.
Also, it's kind of important to point out that right now that we're also having Vala going straight into multi-shot build. So we're not seeing the arrow build that we have seen a lot on this map by Fnatic and a lot of other teams. One of the arguments that is sometimes being made, and that I personally, or deterred me personally, oftentimes from going into an arrow build, is if you have a Nuburak on the other side and Beatles are there. But most of the pro players that we have on the top teams actually still opt for the arrow builds, even if Beatles are a bit of a concern in those team fights.
Helpful when you're able to get that slow later on. Zelia dives in, is getting locked down pretty heavily, but gets out just in time.
Yeah, one of the reasons, I mean, you can spec into slow anyways on your multi-shot. That's normally what we see when you go into the arrow build on level 16. But one of the main reasons why in this setup I would have actually expected arrows is that we have with Illidan and with Genji 2 heroes that really love to go toe-to-toe into the back line and try to put the pressure on Vala. And after you hit the, first of all, you put out incredible damage, and after you hit your level 13, you also have some sustain that really helps you to stay alive against them. There's always arguments to be made in favor and against it, but just Vala still being one of the most versatile heroes, and since she is currently one of the most impactful as well and a cornerstone of most compositions, it's always worth talking about the advantages and disadvantages of certain builds that can be run on certain maps.
Let's see how that multi-shot build does pay off. It will spike at level 7-2 with the extra damage you're going to be getting there, but hang on, the bottom side, Zarmani getting harassed, able to boost away thanks to hitting the bush there.
Yeah, I mean, for now, once again, also a bit of a focus into into Underking has been taken here. So Underking on 4, and then the Subterranean Shield. So it's all about that heavy engage.
And they want to kill Vala.
Yeah, that's something we pointed out in the draft. If you go into a Nuburak, you have also Illidan and Genji with you. You want to dive, so it makes perfect sense that a Nuburak now heads into that specific build here. If you look at Murden on the other hand, he's trying to really rely on his mini stuns on level 7. That's a talent that we have recently not really seen as often anymore. But since Illidan has also, I don't really want to say he has disappeared or anything, but ever since the changes, he's been picked a little bit less frequently. But against Illidan and Genji, it can be a great talent if you get those mini stuns in at the right moment. That can make all the difference about getting a kill or Illidan escaping.
Yeah, interrupting deflect, interrupting Gul'dan when he's running a wife, things like that. Very helpful with that Skullcracker. Being able to kill toe-to-toe there with that Illidan. We'll see how that will pan off here for him, as the Skullcracker is going to be quite useful. Now, the tributes, as we continue to move towards level 10, have gone over to the Zealots. They have 2 out of the 3, but Team Dignitas has been able to get experience out of it all.
The lead is actually quite small, so this is going to be an interesting fight over the third one here for sure. This is a situation where with a good spawning point, the Zealots could definitely get an early curse here. And if you then destroy enough structures, you can gain some momentum on the map, and that would of course be ideal for them. So the tribute favors, or the spawn favors Team Dignitas as it's slightly to their side, and they are already set up with a Nubarak holding the position here. And the Zealots are kind of likely to give it up for now, but they have taken their camp, start to make the way over, and an interrupt could definitely follow. Mopsio is already looking at a potential interrupt, and so is Dehaka as he moved in. Zelia is starting to go in too, and JPL is already low and had to retreat here. That could become a problem for them.
Yeah, Point goes in there, gets him low. We're going to have 3 people on the top left here for Dignitas, both the Gul'dan, Uther, and Illidan. Mopsio moves in, will hit a Stormbolt, does bring out the mini-stun as well. Grandpa becomes a target, though, as he is in a bit of an odd position. He gets focused down, the dive coming out as Dignitas cleans up this fight. A third member, Zarmany, just being taken out.
Yeah, you just don't run away from this comp. It just doesn't happen. Hunt has now taken 3 kills. That equals a level lead now for Team Dignitas. And with Rhaegar being jumped and nobody there to peel for him, that was just a foregone conclusion. Once that he's out of the picture, you don't have the sustain anymore that you need. And again, if the fight turns against you with this composition that Dignitas is running right now, you are not going to escape. The resets for Genji alone are already horrible to deal with, and then you have Illidan just chasing you down throughout the entire map. Zealots have taken a huge hit right now, and that is becoming an issue. They need half a level for level 10, and they now have to deal with the boss at the bot lane as well.
Dignitas going in, the Hunt pops off, it will hit Poik here, he gets low, the Impale, Snitch goes in, Horrify afterwards, beautifully layered there by Dignitas, and they get a Cocoon.
Yeah, they get the Cocoon, and JPL can now follow that up with a stun any moment now. They're going in, but Mopsio jumps out. Guess who jumps back? 3 heroes can easily follow that up, and that's dead Murden right here. Dignitas has taken a massive, massive lead. They've grabbed the momentum, and they are beautifully executing their own composition here. You just don't run away from this. Even the wall did not save the Zealots here.
That was the best part of it. The Hunt went in and immediately saw Illidan dive out, knowing the cleanse would pop out. The cleanse did get utilized the moment it wore off. JPL went in, got the knock up over the wall, as you mentioned, and Snitch came in and gave the damage up. Yeah,
Horrify as well, pushing him into the wall, not even giving him a chance to escape here. The Zealots have level 10, so now they can start to fight back, but they find themselves behind already, and heavily behind. So right now it's 2 for 2 in tributes, and Dignitas, they might even get level 13 by the time that the third one is active on the map. Mopsio and his boys looking at the boss here, making a bit of a risky play. Now they have the damage output, but keep in mind there's no arrow build for them. And since they don't show on the map, Dignitas already knows that something is off a little bit and is double checking the boss, and this could be a disaster for the Zealots.
Yeah, they're trying to make something happen before the cooldowns come up for Dignitas, but the bad news is the cooldowns are up. Hunt comes out, it's going to be Poik, there's a Horrify, and you just see Vala gone. Like, 2 buttons and she's dead. Snitch goes in with the Dragon Blade, working on Zarmany on the side, Grandpa as well getting chunked down. Mopsio hoping to even do anything with the Murden, decides to leap out, but here comes a Nubrak to chase.
Yeah, if you take this fight as Zealots, you have to win it. You cannot afford to lose this fight. Now they are nearly 3 levels behind. Dignitas is going to take the tribute and therefore the curse, or at least they should be able to. And that was just brutal. The Ancestral hitting Murden is also one of those moments where you're, well, he wasn't half HP, but still, if the Ancestral hits him, then Vala is just completely helpless. And that's exactly what we saw there. So here's the curse. Level 13 has hit. It's a 2-level lead right now. They're moving in, and Dignitas is just looking fantastic. 7 kills against 0. this is going to be a tall order for the Zealots to even get into a position where they can take another team fight.
They're looking for another fight. They know they have to make something happen. They're going to try and catch the Eldon, but the Eldon dashes away. The Stormbolt does connect. Zelia might actually fall with Zormany coming in. Can he hit the drag? The answer is looking like a no. One more auto attack. Boyk is trying, and he gets the Hungering Arrow. But look at the middle lane. It's being pushed in by JPL, Snitch, and Mane as they break down the keep wall.
Yeah, the keep wall is broken. The top lane fort has been destroyed. The kill against Illidan was a good one. It was an important kill too, but they committed heavily to gain it. So now the top lane is being pressured. It's a 3-level lead by now for Dignitas. 15 to 12. That's what we're seeing here. And the curse is still up for another 15 seconds, so we could see another wall at the keep fall.
Illidan's up in 8 seconds, so Team Dignitas is maybe looking for a fight here on this side. They have to be careful not to get picked up, but they would like to harass their opponents and maybe look into them over chasing. Zealots not biting though. Clear up the top lane, and they do save their keeps when it's all said and done. But that's at 10 minutes. When they even had a chance at losing keeps at 10 minutes, you know they're in a poor spot.
Yeah, Snitch is already at the top, and they're destroying all the walls at this point, and that of course limits the vision of the Zealots even more. And if you don't know where your opponent is positioned on the map, that's always bad. You could run into a trap, they could be at boss, so Dignitas is really playing around their opponent's vision quite heavily. And they expect the boss to be attacked, so already we have Bakery in the area as well as Snitch, and there's no level 13 talent yet. This is another fight that you don't want to take if you are Team Zealots. They need the level 13 talent first. They abandon the boss. Illidan is already moving into a position where he could hunt in for a team fight, but as we see 13 heading for the Zealots, Dignitas is already about to gain the level 16 talent.
Yeah, that call was made because it saw Illidan in the bottom lane. It would take him some time to get over, and if they can kill someone before Illidan gets to the middle of the map to hunt in, it could be a spot where they get into a 5v4. But with Illidan disappearing, Zealots is back on up. They were unable to get a kill, and now they just waited out.
Now, 13 is a massive power spike for the Team Zealots. They have healing static on Muradin that alone helps him heavily to stay alive in these fights. The nullification for Tassadar is another big asset that they have against Illidan and Genji, so that really helps them out here. And we have, of course, the Earth and Shield for Rhaegar. So that spike is huge. The problem is that they already fell so far behind that Dignitas has level 16 talents. And I would say without that, if that was an even fight, the Zealots had a very good chance, or have a good chance to take it. But as is, they just have to sit there and take the beating. And it's rough. Soaking 3 levels to a point where you can finally contest your opponent is going to be pretty difficult. So I don't envy their position in the slightest here.
Yeah, if they can get a kill or two underneath keep here, it might be helpful for them. They'd be able to get into a tribute, start working on bosses, and grab that experience that's so needed. But right now, it's looking like quite the dire task. They'll go ahead and poke on the side here. They will have decent clear between Tassadar and Vala to work on the waves, but the boss is their major target here. Hunt goes off. A cleanse will be utilized. Poik trying to get to base. Can he live long enough? He barely gets by, and Snitch is low.
Yeah, Snitch is low, and that might actually lead up. Mopsio misses the Stormbolt, but still, Genji is down. The keep is falling. The question is, can they get more kills? There is the potential for the Zealots to actually gain a lot of momentum. Not only the tribute spawning, which would lead into a curse, but there's a boss available on the map to the bot lane, and with all the structures, all the forts still available to Team Dignitas or off Team Dignitas, the Zealots can really speed up closing the gap in experience. The problem is if Zelia gets the channel here, then that's all for naught.
Zelia does get the channel, but can Grandpa get on him and drop a slow? No, he cannot. So a keep does go down, and Dignitas are able to grab a tribute. So all said and done, they're okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would have probably I would have preferred them to sacrifice a bit more damage on the core and the Haka moving in to interrupt the channel on the tribute. Because now they don't get the curse, and this curse could have really helped them to close the gap heavily and also get potentially the boss. So I can understand the impulse to say, hey, we need to take that boss down, but I think if they just simply moved the Haka in for the interrupt, they would have probably taken another 10% damage on the core, and that's, in my opinion, not enough for Dignitas to end the game with a simple backdoor. Whereas right now, when they commit to the core, it's going to be a game anyways, because Dignitas is usually pretty good at judging when they have the kill.
Hang on though, Muradin all by himself and just
Yeah.
deleted.
Talking about kills,
Yeah. Jeez, the coordination from Dignitas. You cannot overstep away from a support.
yeah, and that's the problem right here. So even though you got 2 kills as Team Zealots, you now again, that's exactly the reason why I said rather take a few more hits on the core, but interrupt the tribute, get the curse, and try to just snowball with it a bit more. Then you have 16 versus 16 talents. you are roughly 1 level behind, and then you can maybe make a play. But right now, if you look at it, they lost Boss again. Boss is going to push through the bot lane. It could theoretically be another keep. That would be the second one to fall. And we still have Dignitas with a 2-level lead. And also 2 for 2 tributes.
Things are not looking good for Zealots. They do have all 5 members up. At least they're on the same talent tier as their opponent, but they have to defend a boss and a 4-man push on the bottom side with an Illidan that can hunt in at any point. Poik playing careful here, knowing that he is a target that has constantly been focused from Dig.
They just have to poke. The keep is a foregone conclusion if they just poke from a distance. The attempt to go for JPL, it's a good one, but he still gets away, and the boss is now right at the keep, so this one is going to fall 100%. If they can pick maybe even a kill, Dignitas could pressure the core itself, but there's another tribute now spawning on the map, so they can also just grab the curse here if they move on a little bit earlier. Boss is going to finish the keep easily. That makes 2 lanes that are already opened up, and things are not looking good for Zealots at all. 3 levels behind, and Dignitas on their way to level 20.
I think you're just all in here for the Zealots. I mean, if you don't, that's going to be a curse. 20 hitting. Dignitas can go for the fight. Let's see if Zealots will be able to grab this tribute. They need this curse. They need to be able to fight back.
Dignitas could even just let the curse hit. They could, like, there is an argument to be made for you to simply accept the curse and say, let's fight on 20. But they are going to try right now, since they go back into the backline once again. Mopsio with a bit of zoning happening here. Ancestral gets through, actually. Poik survives. That was a big win for them. And they take JPL down, but Mirrodin has also fallen.
Gonna be both tanks down here for the team. A drag does connect on Bakery, and Uther will be taken out before level 20. So the Zealots, they're able to get a few kills and the tribute.
All right, so here we go. The 2 lanes are going to be pressured back. That's what we see Tacita going top. So you're not losing out on the lanes. Now you need to get infrastructure. You need to take forts down. It's your best way to gain experience and making sure that you are closing that XP gap that Dignitas has. You won't be able to take a keeper at this point, but it's all about trying to hit at least 20 so that you can take even fights. This is the biggest objective for them at this point.
Dahaka does have to be careful on the bottom. His job here is to soak the experience that he can, but also not to get picked off. Illidan diving in with the Genji following up should be a dead Dahaka, so he's playing as safe as he can to soak and get the experience that you mentioned. There is a good 10 seconds before we have a new back on the field, and 15 before we have the Uther. So Zealot's taking all the chances they can here to break down this front wall.
Yeah, they're doing what they can, but they have to be careful with the Nubara coming back, as he said. So Dahaka's at the bot lane. He wants the second fort. He's likely to get it, but Dignitas now has the level 20 talent. Zealots, on the other hand, are on 19 now after this is down. The curse has definitely done his job. The big problem here is that we have an entire level where Dignitas has the Storm talents. Zealots does not. So likely the Zealots will be able to soak the experience thanks to Dahaka to the point where we are seeing the next tribute appear, because it would be a curse tribute in favor of Dignitas. But it's about the boss more so than anything else now. And that's the fight that Dignitas would like to force now, and they are going for the boss immediately. And this one, I don't think you can let that one go.
It's a 17-minute boss. If you're able to dive on the backside and win a team fight, you could clear it up, but it is still scary. They definitely need to contest and poke a little bit. They bring in the Dahaka. They're just going to go for the full fight. There is going to be engaged on top of Poik once again here. Drops the rain event. They kill Anubrak.
Ancestral is nowhere to be seen. And that is the end of Vala. They kill Anubarak, but Vala is down and she's the main damage still. But Mena is also in trouble, trying to go for the life leech. Ancestral hitting this time. Gul'dan is down, and Zealots have that 20 available. Snitch is still trying to rip them a new one, but they are moving in with a potential drag, and Snitch gets the kill on Tacita. But it's not over yet. It's still a 3-for-3.
The Infinity Dragon Blade really doing work here. Keeps up with the slashing. Bakery comes in with another stun. He'll be up in a second here. He gets hit with a drag. Will he be low enough to get picked off? So far, Zealots are not trying to kill him. They're trying to get towards Snitch. Snitch is low. Mopsio does drop in. Does he have the Stormbolt? Can he connect it? Zilly is trying to block it for the moment, but here comes Zarmany charging down.
Oh my god, and he's still alive. For now, the kill, it has happened. Genji is down.
Drag.
And that's the chance for them to make it work. Illidan eliminated. They go for Bakery, and they can kill him a second time, of course. There's no safety for him. He can't run away, and there's stuns. There's way too many. What?
Stormbolt gets thrown out. Grandpa does have the totem in a second here. Can he land it? Bakery's running in circles. Finally, Mopsio jumps in. Drag does come out, and they'll kill the Uther.
I mean, that Stormbolt was an interesting choice there. A little bit of a mistiming, just slightly. But now they have 20. And I would actually love for them to be a bit more aggressive, either around the boss or for a keep. I mean, there's still 3 heroes down, and it's 50 seconds until Uther is back. You need to use that time. There's a tribute you can take. There's 2 bosses on the map. Zealots need to make some plays, Rob. They need to make them fast.
Let's check out this fight here. It's around the boss on the top right. They find JPL. Now, JPL and crew do turn around and they go hard on Fala. Decent amount of control so far to keep them alive. The shield's coming out as well. Now, the Anubra Cocoon did stop Poik from actually living because Ancestral Healing didn't pop off, but the focus on Mane was very important.
Yeah, that was super important that the Ancestral doesn't come through, so that the Cocoon was incredibly powerful. The boss, by the way, is about to be taken now by Team Zealots, and that's of course important. Well, we're seeing that at the bottom left, but they have to make a play for the second one as well. So right now, we have 11 kills against 11. The Zealots... The problem is that at the top lane, we not only do have a Siege Giant camp, there's still a fort there. So Dignitas doesn't care about this lane too much. Yep. The boss is powerful, it's going to get a lot of value, but is it really going to threaten the keep to that extent? Unlikely. So instead, we're having the fight now down at the bot lane. And this boss is more important. So it comes down to another team fight, and heroic abilities are all up, but this is still a pretty intense situation here, especially since in those close quarters, good Horrify can ruin your day.
Both teams do have tools, though, to be on the off lane. Dahaka can go back and clear up the catapults that are pushing into the lane. Luckily, with the boss being grabbed, they're slowing down that push on the top side, but eventually it will fall, especially thanks to Zelia. They grab the Mercs in the middle, too, to have them continue to push in. This was mostly grabbed to keep them away from Dignitas, but also to allow them to get some vision. If they see anyone controlling that in the middle lane, that is important. They can make a move for the boss, or at least contest it, and try to force Dignitas into an odd situation.
Dahaka has the top lane, so that's important. The boss is already down there. Bot lane is being defended as well. So the catapults are not going to push towards the core. 21 minutes in, those catapults actually start hurting. So that's an important one to keep in mind. Over here, already, the play for the Tribute. Mane with a Horrify, and they're going in immediately. They try to go for Vala, and she is down, so is Grand Paquette. It's a double kill. The resets are kicking in. Cocoon is dropped, and now we have Zealots in complete disarray as Dahaka falls, and everyone else is trying to save themselves somehow. But with a quad kill, Dignitas is taking control of the game again and is starting to push it in.
Zealots are setting themselves up to try and make a comeback, but Mane walks in and says, no thank you, drops a Horrify on two of the biggest members here for Zealots that they needed to kill. The Vala and the Rhaegar. The focus coming in from Snitch was just enough, and Dignitas looking a little bit rough there towards the middle, towards the late game here. Make it work with the big play there from Mane. They'll be able to go straight for the boss and take a 1-0 in the series against Zealots.
Zealots losing the match, losing the map. First solo, Dignitas takes the lead. I think this is, again, and this is one of those hindsight 2020 things, but decision-making on the side of the Zealots as they take the team fight and as they get the 4 kills was just not perfect. Because they take the boss at the top. That boss, why? That boss does nothing for you. That boss has to face off against a fort. It has to go through an entire keep. You're not getting the value there. You have 50 seconds after you take Uther down until he comes back. It's only a Nuburak. We have 3 heroes in the middle, so they could have, for example, gone for the mid keep. They're extremely low on mana, but they know they have a time frame in which they can still attack before they then move back. They have to be careful and a cautious decision to say, well, there's too many chase heroes, we're a little bit afraid to be forced into a fight when someone respawns, is understandable. But if you let the keep go and you don't make a play for the keep as 4 heroes are down, then you need to take the bottom boss. That's the boss that can get you a keep, that can actually relieve some of the pressure on the map. And if you then want to go for a double post play, then you can go top. Because if you take the bottom one, then Dignitas has to really think about, okay, do we actually defend or can we contest the boss at the top lane? Yeah. But making it happen the other way around, Dignitas just simply sat there as like, you kidding us? That boss is not going to kill anything. Like, we take the Siege Giant camp and we don't even have to have a hero there. And then they can simply contest the bottom. So that quad kill didn't really give the Zealots anything. If they go for the bottom boss instead and push it in with him, they can try and fight on the boss. Dignitas would have to try to circle around them and force a battle outside of this. But yeah, hindsight, again, being 2020, and of course we have full vision on the map, but they could have made more out of this position. But for Dignitas, last fight in particular, great coordination again.
Yeah, definitely a learning game there for the Zealots. You know, at that point, with 2 catapults being down, or 2 of your keeps being down and catapults pushing into your lanes, you're in high risk, high reward mode, and you have to make those big plays.
You know what's funny to me is, when they were actually an even footing, they were a little bit behind.
Yeah.
Then they make that play.
Of course.
Then they go for the boss. They go for a fight at the boss where they're like, well, we're talent behind, but still I think we can sneak that in. And it backfires. And when they actually have the advantage, then all of a sudden they're like, it's too risky. So if they just revert that, I think they have a much better standing in the game.
Zealots, a team that makes calls when their backs are against the wall. Well, people that are very happy for the win there with Dignitas are our cheers here for the HGC. The top 5 cheers for Dignitas are in once again, and the leaderboard continues to go up here as the number 1 right now at 78,000.
This is the first time that I have seen Gladman not being number 1 in any of these. Every single time he has been on the board, he's always taking the top spot. I think this is the first one where I don't see him here. Also, Sigmo is another one that we have to point out here. Big supporter of Fnatic, big supporter of Team Dignitas, so a big Europe fan.
Careful, man. If you challenge Gladman tomorrow, that is going to
No.
change.
I'm not challenging him in the slightest. Like, I've looked at these standings. I don't think anybody is going to do that anytime soon.
Well, Zealots here with Tordenheim here with 17,000 at the very top. Snitch actually falling a little bit. Snitch was number 1, I believe, last week.
Yeah, and the Mono Bear from everywhere.
There he is.
It's like, I don't know, but that name makes me happy for some reason.
I mean, it rhymes. It's
Yeah,
perfect, man.
it's
Gotta
good.
love rhymes here.
Howdy.
Howdy, dropping her head. Battleground number 2 is up and available in this best of 5 series.
You started it.